typically we do.
And what percent would you say your buyers are? Are they mostly from California, or are they from kind of even all over the place, out of the country?
It's a pretty good mix. You know, it used to be, and I got started full-time in this business back in late 2009. It used to be that most of our buyers were cash buyers, and most of them were international investors, foreign investors. Thank you, sorry about that. As the sort of economic times have turned and as things have improved in America, buyer confidence has come back, investor confidence has come back, we're seeing a lot more domestic investors. But the other thing to note is that a couple of years ago, the American hedge fund made its presence known in the real estate world. And they made it known in a pretty big way. They started with primary markets such as Atlanta, and now they're starting to move in secondary markets such as Kansas City. And so big guys out of Wall Street with more money than sense, they come into town and they were buying up everything. And so that really changed the landscape of a lot of investors, and how investors were doing business, and where, you know, that we were in Atlanta, for example, back in 2011, 2012, and then Atlanta just got taken over by the hedge funds. And so the yields were squeezed down, the competition was through the roof. I mean, you couldn't go to the foreclosure sale and buy anymore because properties were just getting bidded up like crazy. And so that sheer competition sort of drove some of the smaller guys like us out of the marketplace. So that changed the landscape, as you know, when the hedge funds started coming in. But really, I would have to say though, and now it's becoming more normalized, we're finding more individual American domestic buyers that are coming in, and individual investors are buying two to four properties a year. And so we're starting to see more of that. But traditionally, it's been the overseas guys or the hedge funds, but now we're seeing more of the domestic.
You know, the hedge funds backing off a little bit because of management problems for the properties, or are they just still on it?
Just depends on the life cycle of that fund. You know, whenever they go, they raise their money, they're public, and they've got. Again, I hate to say the term, and you hedge funds guys, hey, I love you, but a lot of times they come in like gangbusters, and they have more money, and they have pressure behind them to go deploy that capital. So when you're a hedge fund and you go raise a bunch of money from your investors, you're not helping them out or helping yourself or anyone if that money's sitting there and you got $500 million sitting in a bank.
Right.
And so a lot of times they're under some pressure to get that money out into the marketplace. And when you're under pressure to move money into a marketplace, you sometimes don't make the best decisions, okay? And so a lot of these hedge funds have come in and buying hundreds and hundreds of properties, and then they thought, oh, wait a second, don't we have a renovation to do? Don't we have a tenant to put in there? Don't we have the management to handle? We've got to get some return on our investment, and how does this thing look? So again, this isn't a blanket conversation for hedge funds, but in my experience, what I've seen is most hedge funds, when they get started, they're blowing and going so fast and they're buying so many properties, and then they slow down in about 6 months to 9 months. And they regroup, and they make sure all their properties are performing, and they, you know, weed out, you know, they fire some employees, get some new ones. I mean, it's just a process, right? Okay. Now, hedge funds, there's some that have been in the business that sort of started this hedge fund single-family REIT, you know, aggregation. Those guys that have been around for a while have learned those lessons. They've refined their processes. They've got the thing down, right? Guys like ARP, American Homes for Rent, Blackstone, Colony America, these are some of the big funds that own thousands and thousands of property all across America. They've been in the game long enough to refine their processes and figure out a system that works, and so they can actually start earning some yields and return on their investment. So, yeah, I mean, it's interesting. The landscape has changed.
I'm not sure if that's a car passing by or something really is big happening down there.
Sounds like a good time. Actually, we cut this thing short and go party or what?
Yeah, really.
Let's go. I'm ready.
Off of the beach.
You guys don't want to learn about property anyway. Just kidding. Okay.
Kind of a random question. Why you guys use the generic rental signs instead of corporate?
They're disposable. I mean, that's the best. They're disposable. I mean, the wind blows them down, or I mean, we can use them over and over again on properties. You know.
There's no big reason.
Yeah, no big reason. And then the thing of it is you know, we all as sort of a network of investors, and we have leasing agents and things, and not every leasing agent works for just one investor. And so to keep things sort of open and generic, it's not. if we had our company sign in front of the house, then it might deter some leasing agents to want to rent that, because they'll say, hey, go drive by the house. Well, this person and their tenant or the potential prospect's going to see our company sign and name, and they'll look us up, and then they call us. Well, they just circumvented our leasing agent. So we like to sort of keep things sort of generic, but that's one of the reasons for that. Okay, B class. This next property is Kansas City. This is C-class property, 2953 Victor, Kansas City, Missouri. C-class properties are older properties. They're in a lower demographic neighborhood, and they have the highest price to rent ratio that we offer of any of our properties. The caveat of the C-class property is that while it does have the highest price to rent ratio and the highest month-over-month yield, it also has the lowest appreciation rate. Okay? As opposed to an A-class property, which has the 7.5, relatively lower yield, that property is going to probably appreciate, at least in Houston and Dallas has for the last 2 years, at 10% year over year, right? So 7.5% on the cash yield, 10% on the appreciation for this A-class property, and then I've got a C-class property over here. I'm at 15, 16, 17% net yields on my cash flow, and I'm at maybe 2% on my appreciation. Okay?
You say lower demographic, you mean like socioeconomically?
Yes, yeah, lower income demographics. Typically the people, there's a lot of people in these areas that are Section 8 or subsistence type tenants. We do a lot of market tenants. We don't do very much Section 8 tenancy. That's just sort of the differences. Any city in America, you're going to have A-class neighborhoods and A-class people, and you're going to have B-class neighborhoods and B-class people. And this isn't a judgment call by any means. It's just saying it like it is, right? And so, in the C-class neighborhood, again, you look at the price to rent ratio. What is it? This is a heck of a lot better, a lot higher as far as a monthly rental yield. But again, this property for $50,000. 10 years from now, it might be worth 55, maybe. Okay. The other one it's 130 or something now. In 10 years, that thing will be worth 180. No question about it, right? So that's where it comes down to you as an investor. What are your needs as an investor? What are your cash capabilities as an investor? See, a lot of people, if they have some limited income, you're not able to get some traditional financing, but you've got 50 or 100,000 in cash. You might buy one or two of the C-class properties, cash flow them, get them paid off in the next 5 to 6 years, and then turn around and say, wow, I've got paid off assets over here, I've got my money back, I've got a great return over the last several years, the last 5 or 6 years. I'm going to go sell these properties, and I'm going to upgrade to an A-class property. Okay? So that's a strategy that many investors use. Okay? So, and then there's also people that all they do is buy C-class properties. I mean, we have investors literally that will buy hundreds of C-class properties, and that's all they do. And they make a great living by buying and owning and doing the C-class thing. So again, we offer it because it's a good investment and because we have investors that like the product. Just like we offer an A-class property because it's a good investment, we have investors that like the properties. We sort of offer a buffet because we know that you may have different goals and objectives than what you have. And we want to help everybody to succeed in real estate. Yes, ma'am.
I have a couple questions. So the price, just for example, on this home right here is $49.9. So that's the price to the investor, and is there a fee that the investor pays to your company, or
No.
that comes out?
That's a finished price. That's right. All of our money and how we keep the lights on and keep people working and all that is the difference between what you pay for it and what we're able to be into it for. Purchase, rehab, carrying cost, insurance, all the costs.
The appraisal on that property too is probably about $75,000. It's not really a typical C,
Right.
more of a C plus property.
Yeah.
Just the street location of that property.
And then the second question I had was, you hire a management company for each of your properties that the investor then deals with, or the investor continues to deal with you?
We have, in different markets, it's a little bit different. In Memphis, we manage all of our own stuff in-house. We manage it ourselves, for ourselves, and then also for our investors. We've set up that management firm there. In Kansas City, we've had management before. We've not had management before. Currently, we manage all of our own stock, but then when we sell it to an investor, we have a third-party manager that comes in and manages that for us. We've sort of flip-flagged. We've done it. We've not done it. Right now, we're sort of considering maybe doing that again. But in most of our markets, we do hire a third-party manager, and that investor deals with the third-party manager. Now, in saying that, we're always there. We work with these managers because we have big portfolios, we're big clients to the managers, and all of our clients, because you're one of us, you know, and they come in and say, okay, you're under the Invest America banner, you get a little bit better treatment than you would as just some individual walking down the street, that you're one of 200 clients that they have. So just because we do a fair amount of business with people, we have some influence on what goes on there. If one of our investors is having trouble, it's easy enough for us to make a phone call on their behalf, and you know, if there's some issue or whatever to get down to the bottom of, we can do that. Hold on one second. You had a question there in the back.
Well, I was just going to let you know about time stuff, but we're
Time.
good.
We're at
Okay,
4
we're
o'clock,
okay.
if everybody's happy to go over, I'm happy. Okay, it's the final. Yeah, we can go over it, but I got a question for you on the management side of things and the tenants. Can you give me a percentage of how much you might work with the tenants to try and get them qualified to eventually buy those properties, or do you not get into that at all?
We don't get into too much of that,
Okay.
simply because, you know, our life cycle of owning that property might be 6 months, okay?
Gotcha.
From the time we buy it and all that. Now, as an investor, that's a conversation you might want to have. I would discourage the conversation on a C-class property, just because you're going to find less tenants that have the ability to be able to
Right. It's more
finance you
difficult.
out. But I would highly encourage it on A and B class properties.
Gotcha.
And I would also encourage lease optioning for A and B class properties. We don't do the lease option thing very often on the investment properties, but man, I do it personally quite a bit. I love the lease option. I get money down. I got somebody that lives there that they're not a tenant, they're an owner in their mind, right? So it reduces maintenance and all that. But we will encourage you to do that more on the A and B properties than we would on the C class, just basically because of the demographic of who you're working with, who your
So
clientele
the
is.
majority of all the properties you guys handle, you're actually turning over within about 6 months or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not really a long-term cash flow thing. You
Right.
want to turn them over.
Right, yeah, our position in the industry is more of on the
Gotcha.
entrepreneurial side of the business rather than the passive building portfolio of cash flow. Now, we all are real estate investors as well as real estate entrepreneurs, and so we do build portfolios ourselves for ourselves, but for all of our sort of stock that we're showing you, that's more of the, you know, flip per se.
So you personally, with your own inventory, that's your long-term stuff,
Yeah.
like you said, you encourage the lease purchase or whatever because you get a better tenant
Yeah.
and you get a better price when you sell.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, you can pin your price right now of what you might get in 3 years. You
Gotcha.
know? And the way we do it, I won't get too far off track here, but the way I do it is I say, hey, I take my appreciation rate and I just figure out what it's going to be worth in 3 years, and I say, hey, I'm going to sell this thing to you for either this amount or the appraisal amount, whichever's higher.
Gotcha.
And whatever's higher, that's what it becomes.
Okay.
So.
How long are you guys in business?
I've been in business full-time as a real estate investor since late 2009. Invest America as a company, this was actually a new creation of some investors that came together. We started this just at the top of this year, the Invest America banner and all that. Myself as a real estate investor, I think the first investment property I bought was in 2003 when I got out of college. So I've got a video of this Victor property. And this is kind of a special treat. We don't often get to do this, but this is actually right at the end of the tenant moving into the house. And so the tenant's got most of their stuff in there. There's a rent-a-center guy that's dropping off some appliances, and so you can see the tenant, and there's got friends in there, and it's kind of funny actually. Every video we do is sort of raw and uncut, so if you ever go to our YouTube page and see some of our stuff, we literally do one take. I mean, I do one take. I go through the house one time. If I fumble up my words or say something stupid, I just hope that you guys, you know, kind of look over that. But everything's one take. I want to show you this video because it's, I don't know, I got a laugh out of it. I recorded this video myself, and I had to stop myself from laughing sort of sometime on the way through. You'll understand what I mean when you see this video.
You're working on a motorcycle in the living room?
Not quite, not quite. But if you like hip-hop music, you're going to like this video.
They were so great with their 40s.
Oh, man, they were getting down.
You got us a place to live.
This is a market tenant. It's the lady
This is
actually.
2953 Victor.
It's two adults. It's a guy, a middle-aged guy and a middle-aged woman, and the guy has the daughter there, or she's got the daughter, one of the two, and they roommate together. The guy has had a good job for a long time, but he actually works just at a gas station right down the street. He walks to work now. The girl has a better job. She's in I think the medical field or something with the lady tenant.
I think she works at a hospital.
Right, and she makes, $3 or $4 grand a month. But because where they live in the neighborhood, they're paying a good market rent. They're paying $750 a month. They're well qualified. They checked out, prior evictions, criminal background, all the things that we check for. They checked out. But let's watch this video. I want to check out this video. It's kind of funny.
Kansas City, Missouri. This is a high cash flow property in a C-plus neighborhood. Right here off Victor and Walren Avenue in Kansas City. Just pan a little bit around, take a look at the neighborhood. This is a nice quiet area of town. Nice big houses, they're set back off the street a little bit. Big old trees. This particular neighborhood of Kansas City, 50 years ago, this neighborhood was one of the top neighborhoods in the city. Over time, people have migrated and moved further outside of the city, but you still have quite a few homeowners and quite a few nice looking homes. Good quality tenants can be found in these neighborhoods as well, along with some homeowners. And we're looking here at 2953 Victor. Again, this is a high cash flow property. Recent renovation has been done, and we'll go through here, and we're actually going to walk inside and take a video of the property. I'm not going to do a whole lot of commentary as we get inside. We do have tenants that, as you can see, the tenants are moving in right now. They've got some people in there, and they've got the Rent-A-Center truck sitting here delivering off some appliances. And so we'll walk in there. There's going to be some background noise and things, but before we go inside, we'll take a look at some of the outside. You can see these downspouts here and the extensions that we put on them. We like to route this water as far away from the home as we can. At least 8 feet away from the home is what these are. Got a fresh paint job. The porch was painted. As we go inside, you'll see the textured walls. Everything was done new on the inside. Walls, flooring, plumbing, electrical, fixtures, light fixtures. All of that's new. And so we'll go ahead and walk around the outside. Take a look at the backyard. It's got a fenced-in backyard. Right across the street from some nice houses here. Also have fenced-in yards. Okay, we're going to walk inside the property and make a quick walkthrough. There's going to be some background noise. They've got the radio on. There's quite a few people in there talking and moving and getting their things situated here. Like I said, the tenants are just now moving into the property. So let's go inside and take a look. I'll be real quick. Just textured walls. dropped off. This is a heavy-duty commercial grade lagoon. Your handrails and steps on the back. Dining room over here. Crown molding.
That big TV sitting on the front place, you said you need some and with this family.
Excuse me.
I'm taking up to the third.
Guys, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to buzz through this thing.
Got it coated with polyurethane.
And we're kind of running short on time.
Polished finish.
You can see the hardwoods and all that. I do have a guest I want to introduce here before we get out of here. We're going to do some Q&A. And because it's 4:10 basically already, so I'm going to just jump right to the end of this and on to the next.
And while you do that, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Did you say you don't carry liability insurance on?
We carry some blanket coverage. We do, but we carry we'll carry a policy, the liability that covers all the houses that we do versus on each individual property.
Large umbrella.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me. And then also, guys, if you can watch any of the videos that we have, just go to YouTube. On the top of your spreadsheet, there's actually the web address for YouTube. Our username there is Invest America Info, all one word, Invest America Info, so you guys can watch the full Victor video if you'd like.
Yeah, I have a question about the business model. Is that something better for you or your next speaker?
Either one of us, but
Wait, go ahead.
yeah. What's your question?
You said you do flipping as well. Why do you choose to market your property this way as opposed to just putting a sign on it, just something directly inside the market or located?
I mean, really, we have investors that have come to us from every part of the country, even outside of the country. And so in order just to capture a wide net of potential investors, we like to go outside of our market. The other reason that, local investors inside the market, whether they can or cannot do it, they all perceive to believe that they can go do what we do, okay? Again, whether they can or can't, the perception is that, hey, if I'm sitting here in this market, why can't I just go buy a house and put my own paint on the walls and do that kind of thing? And so when you're in the market and you're marketing to local investors, now we do have local investors that have learned their lessons, and they say, hey, we just want to buy turnkey because it's the smartest thing to do. We have a smaller net of potential investors if we just focused on that particular market than if we just open it up to everywhere. So for us, it's a matter of, from a business model perspective, whether I'm selling shoelaces or real estate or cowboy hats, I want the widest buyer base that I could possibly have. And so that's why we do marketing. We go to places, I travel even outside the country to speak at, large forums and things like that. So, from a model perspective, again, it doesn't matter what you're selling, you want to have the widest base of potential buyers for that product that you possibly can. So we don't want to limit ourselves just to the local investor. This next slide I want to show you. In fact, I was going to show you a video of Kansas City to give you a better idea of what the market of Kansas City. I think I probably still will do that. That's a short 4-minute video. As soon as we're done with that, I'll bring my guest JT up, and then we'll have a Q&A session from there.
Do you live in Memphis or Tennessee?
I live in Kansas City.
Kansas City.
Yep.
Casey's a program. Casey.
A city is much like a person. After all, it does have a personality. And some people, as with cities, you just can't help but like. Some are full of surprises, and most people, at some point in their lives, seek to reinvent themselves. They desire to be better, they want to be more. Kansas City is one such person. This is a place of fountain, of beauty, of greenery and space, but also a stunning vibe of arts and culture. Makes sense that the Crossroads Arts District is just 2 blocks from one of the most creative places in the world, the headquarters of Hallmark Cards. And people have come here just for the architecture and shopping that awaits at the world-renowned Country Club Plaza. And the barbecue is the sauce to our city. And yet visitors here have always been surprised. What had they imagined? If they were expecting to encounter folks, they've not been disappointed. Folks here helped create something called jazz. And today, one is redefining funk as we speak. It's been a city of action, and those who create it, of those who changed the world and captured the way it felt. We've given the world unmatched optimism and improbable comebacks. But what happened here recently could not be called improbable, nor a comeback. Someone once said, when you're through changing, you really are through. And Kansas City's $5 billion renaissance would suggest that we were not anywhere near through. 14 square blocks of downtown have been completely revitalized with a new entertainment and retail district that is just steps away from the convention center. In fact, our new attractions, museums, and performing arts center are enough to have turned many perceptions of our city completely upside down. Or right side up, depending on your perspective. We didn't invent the concept of a city. We didn't even reinvent it. But we desired to be better. We wanted to be more. A city known for being so friendly, so affordable, and so clean. It can now excite your senses and leave your heart racing. And we've emerged, perhaps not quite so humble as before. We didn't change our spirit or who we are. But surely few cities have had so much positive change in such a short time. It would appear that we were the folks we were waiting for. Surprised? Don't be.
That was a good video.
Do you guys know more about Kansas City now than what you did before?
Oh, yeah.
All right, give a hand a visit KC. Thank you very much for them.
Nice place.
Yeah, it's a good, again, I like to show that video to people that are not from Kansas City because you would never think of Kansas City that way. You-
That's where Toro came from, right?
Well, I think so. I think he came from the Kansas side. We do most of our stuff on the Missouri side, so. But it's a good introduction to the city, and then I'm going to give a introduction to one of my associates here, Mr. J.T. Jennings. Let me go ahead and start. How do I see? Go to. There we go. JT coming up. Always in Kansas City, Missouri. Thanks for being here.
The reason why I'm here is all I do business is Kansas City, Missouri. Ben is more of a salesman. He sells a lot of volume of properties in several different markets. But I've rehabbed, I don't even know how many, I'd have to like look at all the deeds, but it's definitely over 2,500 homes that I've bought, rehabbed, tenanted, and sold. And I've seen markets change every year. I've built subdivision of duplexes, I think at least 3, most of them next to Whiteman Air Force Base, about an hour from Kansas City. It was all military tenants. That was back in '07. Possibly looking at doing that again. We've already bought some duplex lots, but we're just sitting on the ground right now. But basically we just do B and C properties. I own a lot of C plus properties in my own portfolio. My wife came here with me. Her name's SBREIA Jennings. She just got a real estate license. And then Crystal. But so we offer a few different things. You could even buy a home that's not rehabbed through, say, like SBREIA, and then you could hire us to rehab it for you at a fee. And then we would SBREIA is also a leasing agent. We tenant it for you. We are considering doing a management company, but right now we give you 3 different management companies to choose from. But once we rehab the property, the tenant moves in, there's always some issues. The tenant might notice something's not working right here, or the toilet stopped up, or whatever it is. We take care of all those issues. Then once all those issues are taken care of, really the maintenance is low. It's upgraded wiring, upgraded plumbing, hot water tanks, huge cash flows. And it's just what I know how to do, and I stick with what I know how to do. I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. And my own personal portfolio is growing every year, and I've seen a lot of luck with investors in Kansas City.
And so JT is, he's mainly more on the construction, on the ground. He runs, he's got the crews, he goes in and oversees them day in and day out, that kind of thing. And even on my own houses that I buy, JT actually runs the rehabs on our own stuff in Kansas City. And so while he's more on the construction end of the business, I'm more on the entrepreneurial of growing the business, going out, finding partner, doing the thing on the growing of the business, and John handles more or less of the construction and that side of the
business.
business.
And we share an office in Kansas City.
We share office together, we do a lot of business together, and so I wanted to bring him out as well. And so what we'll do now is we'll open up some Q&A. Any question that you've got, whether that's specifically related to construction and quality of renovation, or how we texture the walls or whatever, or if that's more a question about, okay, how do I get started with you, and what's the process look like, and all that. So any question, we are now opening the floor. Yes, sir. Either one.
Do you, on the flooring, especially in the bedrooms and places like that, are you still putting carpet in a lot, or are you starting to get to the point where you're saying, let's put in either wood floors, hardwood floors, vinyl plank flooring?
C-type properties almost always are hardwood floors.
Okay.
And we like to keep them hardwood floors because if a tenant moves out, it's very easy to re-urethane the floors and they look really good. Sometimes we even paint the floors a concrete black paint and then urethane it. And I thought of the idea several years ago, and the first tenant that looked at it loved it, and we've been doing it ever since. So then, carpet's pretty expensive, and tenants often will tear up carpet in rental properties. If you have hardwood floors, even if a black paint with urethane over it, there might be a few scratches on it, and it's when your tenant moves out, it's just a little touch-up. I mean, it's cheap and easy to fix. So that's what we do with the flooring. But almost all the C-type properties are hardwood floors. The B-type properties are more common carpet.
Do the C properties already come with hardwood floors?
Yeah, they're built in like the 20s, everything was
Right,
hardwood
so why
floors.
would you ever get rid of those?
We don't.
Yeah, you can go to.
We don't, but
Lowe's,
the
nice
properties, if you look at the prices, they're like the high 30s.
Right.
So we typically do not hire sanders and completely renovate, refinish the floors. But sometimes the floors have some stains here and there, but we clean it all up and then urethane over the stains, it actually looks pretty good, it gives a character. Or if it's really rough, like says, hey, it has some old kills on it, paint, we'll paint it black, a concrete paint or a marine paint, and then we urethane. And the tenants love it, and they rent it, and it's easy to fix if they move out. just the way we do it. And that's the C though. They're almost every house is park floors.
So the B and the A,
B, it's,
The
they're
tenants-
newer homes. They're built in the 50s or earlier. I mean, this is just not as common for hardwood floors. If there are hardwood floors there, we'll definitely keep them
okay,
hardwood
so
floors.
if the floors are concrete and they're in a B or an A,
It's carpet.
have you considered going to Home Depot, vinyl plank flooring that looks like wood?
Pergo, I've done in kitchens there, I hate it.
Really? And why is that?
If you don't put it down right, it'll clack, if the floors aren't level, you can hear it clack. If the temperature changes, like say the tenant moves out and it's in the middle of winter, it's has a heat on, it'll expand and separate and buckle.
So
It's
that's
not
the
like
Pergo.
California.
So that's the
That's the
Pergo,
Pergo.
but that's not the vinyl
Solid
plank.
Yeah.
The vinyl plank floor, it actually floats on the floor.
We use commercial grade vinyl flooring in all of our bathrooms and kitchens. In that one video, you can see it looked like almost a stone.
Right.
It's real thick, and it's got like a backing to it that's real thick. And you actually do not have to glue all of it. You glue the edges and it'll make a lot of different glue marks. And you stretch it out and then you trim it out with your quarter round and your baseboard. And I've only seen it tear a few times in all the houses I've done. But if you just
Does
put
it
the
snow in
lines in
Kansas
wrong.
City?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
It doesn't
It's like
last,
east-
though.
We're from the East Coast, so you have temperature changes.
Yeah.
So you have to go with materials that,
Yeah.
you know.
It can be 25 degrees one day, it's 70
It's not like
the next.
California, that's right.
No.
I think, Dan, you're talking about maybe a different
It's
type
a
of
different
product.
product. Yeah, Home
like a
Depot
board
has,
type
it
flooring.
layers on top of each other and it sticks to each other and it floats on the floor and you have to leave enough space under the baseboards because of the expansion contraction. As long as you do that, it's fine. It doesn't buckle, it doesn't do anything. And it looks just like
Yeah.
oak wood or, any
Yeah,
kind of
what we
floor
use
you want.
is that commercial grade linoleum, it's 99 cents a square foot. We get a really good price on
It's
it.
clean.
It really looks good. And
Okay.
it doesn't tear, it's thick, it's sturdy.
Yeah, I'm just
It
trying
is
to,
hard flooring.
just trying to get a sense of, is it because the tenants want carpet? Or is it because of what you guys are putting in there, you desire to not do, or to do carpet?
We look at it for long term. If a tenant moves out,
Mhm.
I've had a lot of rental properties in B-type areas.
Right,
If a tenant's been there for 2 years and they move out, the only way you're gonna attract a new tenant is replace the carpet.
exactly.
Another $2,000 bill.
Exactly.
So
It's a waste.
I don't do carpet. I mean, unless it's a
Yes, you
flat
have to.
type home and
Okay.
kind of have to.
Yeah, we're trying to stay away from carpet.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get a sense of what you guys are doing.
Every property of the C type, I don't think there's any carpet anywhere.
Okay, good. Good question?
Yes, I have a question. Do you do anything with commercial property or multifamily?
I've renovated and owned 21 unit building, renovated 16 unit buildings. Actually, one of the first deals I did when I was really young is I bought a 24 unit building, talked to a banker and they gave me a loan. It was 2 blocks from the bar, it's called Westport. And I lived in it with a partner and we would work hard all day on one apartment, get it fixed up, move a good tenant in there, move into the next one, that's the worst apartment. We didn't own a stove or a fridge for 2 years. We would just fix up the unit by unit. But those were different days. Now I'm married, children. And we would drink every night, have fun by the bars. And then we sold that building, made a ton of money.
Wow.
And people have hired me to rehab apartment buildings. I've owned some commercial stuff. I've owned some transmission shops and different things.
Wow.
But my true niche is the C grade, C plus grade. I love the tenants. I mean, those tenants you're seeing in there, they have so much character, they have soul, they have heart. They pay their rent, they work hard. And just as long as we take care of the maintenance, we have a really good relationship with them. And it's just the niche I want to stay in. It's really the niche that I truly love. I haven't.
Fair enough.
So you've done enough commercial that you want to kind of move away and just stick with what you love.
I've done commercial, I've owned some commercial properties. But yeah, my heart and soul is the C. Soraya and I live just south of the plaza. You saw that Country Club Plaza. But you go just 10 blocks east, you're at the C type areas. And all our properties are within a few minutes of our
But the
home.
C is that all historic? The kind of the-
Yeah, everything's like
historic?
1920,
Right,
1930.
so the quality of the materials that are already in the house are pretty solid.
Really solid.
Right, so you're
Yeah.
really working with a really.
And then we upgrade the wiring.
It's a good point
That's
that you
key.
make though. It's a
Oh,
good
of
point
course.
that you make because
The
a lot of
homes are
people,
great.
wherever walk in life, people say, well, I don't want this 100-year-old home because it's 100, I'm gonna have maintenance to the,
There's
all this
stone
kind of stuff.
foundations.
I can see
You know,
it.
The concrete poured foundation, a lot of times the water pushes on, it's cracked. These stone foundations, you don't have that issue.
Oh, yeah.
We had,
We had
we
one
had
of
a
those.
100-year-old
in this
house, stone found.
Yeah.
And you know, the crack that was in the foundation over 100 years, if another 100 years, one other crack, big deal, you know what I mean? It's just, the
Yeah.
bones are unbelievable. I have a question now. On the 4 markets that you deal with, is there one of these that the increase in value is higher than the rest? In other words,
What, Texas?
are the values increasing at a better rate?
Yeah, Houston and Dallas, for sure, the Texas
Yeah.
markets
Those
are,
ratios over there.
You guys were taking properties you sold to investors and talking them to letting you resell them
Right,
a couple
because
years
of the
later
value.
because they went up so high.
yeah, yeah, that's the same, you know, I was doing the business in Phoenix back in 2011. Same scenario, you know, we've had investors now that, you know, they bought it for 89,000 or something at the time, and now they're worth 150, 160,000. Just, you know, and we told investors at that time, we said, hey, listen, you're not gonna get a huge cash flow, very similar, you know, 7, 8, 9% net. But the play here is that capital growth, and the capital growth just took back off. Now, Phoenix is a different market. The reason for its capital growth were different than what the reasons for Texas capital growth today. And the Phoenix was more of it's a bubble market, right? Bubbles up, bubbles down, pops, grows. It's a bubble market. People like moving to Phoenix when times are good. People have disposable income. They say, wow, I want to go live in Phoenix, you know, 300-something days of sunshine a year. People don't move to Texas because of the reasons that they move to Phoenix. People move to Texas because they really have to go work, okay? Jobs, the cost of living is less. You know, there no income tax, no state income tax. So the people, the Texas growth is real growth. It's real fundamental economic growth. It doesn't have to do with what people feel about it and what, you know, like a Phoenix market, like a bubble market. And so, yeah, to answer your question, the Texas markets are definitely growing faster than any other market that we own.
On those drain pipes to keep the water away from the house, is that more of a solution to keep water out of the basement, or would you say that you still have to go through and do a lot of sealants and whatnot in the basements, even though you're putting those?
Well, what we do on the basement, first of all, you have to make sure the gutters are clean
Right.
for it to work, and that often is like once a year you need to get a maintenance cap done.
Gotcha.
Then the ground has to be graded properly.
Gotcha.
And all of our investors hire a home inspector. Home inspectors will note things if it's not graded properly. We bring our Bobcats out and regrade it. We fix anything an inspector sees before we sell it to the investor. Then in the basements, it's actually a stone foundation. We tuck point the stone, then that tuck point dries, and there's actually, then we buy this, it's basically lime. You can buy it at Home Depot. It's a white powder that probably has silica in it and lime and other minerals in it that you mix with water, and it gets into a like runny solution type, and you actually blow it on with a knockdown hopper, and you actually spray this lime material on the stone foundation, and it dries as hard as concrete, and it's bright white. And the only time you ever have a problem with it is if when you apply it, the foundation is wet. It won't stick properly. Then you just have to make sure it dries up, then you go back and respray it. But once it's done, you don't have any mold issues, it's as hard as concrete. The foundation walls look so clean, and then we paint the foundation floor. If you look at the rest of the video on Victor, you can see what the foundation floor and the basement floors look like. Actually, the tenant was like, I put my room down here. And I don't know if it's a girlfriend, it's a roommate or what, but he wanted to get away from her and have his own space.
Is that
He was thinking about the basement.
Is it really costly for that spray?
It's cheap, it's $7 a bag, it takes 3
It
bags.
looks like it's spraying.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the floors also, you know, like you said, it's a concrete paint.
Yeah.
That paint is a little bit more expensive
Yeah, it's
than regular paint.
$30.
So just keeping water away from the outside of the house isn't the total solution. You really do have to go back in there and do what you're talking about.
Well, it's
as
most
well.
of the grading, the gutters, the downspouts.
Okay.
That's a 90% of it right there.
If you got a hill, you put a French drain in. Sump pumps, if you need it, where you just can't get the water from away from the foundation. So what it does is the water actually will go underneath the basement floor, and then that water table will run to a sump pump, and then that sump pump pumps the water out of the house into a tubing and pushes it away from the house, or you can pump it into the sewer drain.
Okay.
Yeah, and every one of the basements does have a drain, not a basement floor.
Floor drains.
It's floor drain, so if water does come in, it's gonna drain out, and the basement floors are graded towards the drain.
But it has to be pumped out.
It's not that often that you need a sump pump, but if you have a home that has a large hill behind it, and there's a lot of runoff coming towards the home, you might have to do several things. A sump pump, French drains around the outside of the house, and all these other things with your gutters. You know, just the roof runoff. If you don't have proper gutters in the downspouts, you could have, you know, getting water in your
It
basement.
doesn't rain in California, so don't worry about that here.
No.
Yeah, we'd like to have some of your runoff, thank you.
Yeah.
We were at breakfast this morning, and we had to ask for the water, and a little sign that said, you must request your ice water. I used that.
Every so often.
Yes.
Bottom line, okay, that's great that you've done 2,500
Yeah.
homes, you know your rehab. I got X dollars to invest. Why should I invest in one of your markets? Which market would you recommend? Obviously, I have all different things that we need to talk about. Talk about those returns. I saw 7%, I saw 18% net. These look really good. Why am I coming to you?
Well, I think the difference between us and some other turnkey providers is, one, we take so much pride in the quality of our houses. I mean, we really do. And I can sit here and say this, you're not gonna believe me until we start maybe doing business together, but I know so many guys in the business, JT, you can attest to it, in fact, guys that come in and they do what's called this lipstick on a pig type rehab, right?
Right.
You go in and you do just enough to get somebody in there, just enough to pass an inspection. I mean, you're not really doing a full rehab. You're changing out some flooring, putting up some paint, and tinkering with your furnace to get it to fire up and work, you know, just long enough for the inspector to get in and get out, you know. A lot of that goes on in the real estate business. If you've been in the real estate business for a while, you'll see it. I mean, and it's something that we've never done business that way. We've always done business the right way. We've always done top quality renovations. We don't cut corners when it comes to that kind of thing. And so I think that's one thing of why you would want to do business with our company versus maybe the other competitor. We really, really do care. And also the other thing is we're very transparent. We're not trying to hide anything about the business at all. We encourage buyers to do every bit of due diligence, just like we do. We encourage you to go out and get an independent home inspection. And I'm happy for you to take my word that it's a great house, and I appreciate the trust that you've given me if you just go ahead and do that. But I really want you to get an inspection. I really do. I want you to know that it's a great house. I encourage you to do that. I want all of my buyers, I want you to come out and visit the home. I want you to come see my city. I'll put you in my car, we'll go drive to the house.
And you know, another really big advantage you guys have being in this group is you're Dan, right?
Yeah.
Dan's not charging us anything to sell these homes. We deal with other real estate coaching groups, huge infomercial gurus that put on these big seminars. They take 10 grand a house, minimum. And they might sell a house that I'm asking $39,900, that my margin is I make $6,000 to $8,000 off that home, but I maybe do 10 to 20 homes a month. It's fine with me. They might sell it for $55,000 to some guy that pays $20,000 to go learn how to do real estate for a week.
Right.
You know, so you guys are getting our wholesale price.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the other advantage, is that when you work with us, you really are working directly with the guys who deal with the houses. You're not just working with a marketing firm or like I said, a guru, or, you know, there's a lot of big outfits and guys out there that they take our $40,000 house and they go sell it on the marketplace to you guys for $55,000. Okay, and that's just, it's just the way it is. So when you deal with us, you do get a true fair market price. We're not going to bedazzle you with all of the seminars and all the CDs and books and all that stuff. And I mean, that's just not our gig. We're property guys. And I'm sorry?
On the rental part.
Yes.
And I asked this, I worked for a company that made a lot of promises. I didn't work for them for long. But they were selling wholesale properties and with the renter, a year guarantee rent, blah, 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 blah. Once I buy a property from you, you've got a property management company in place, right? That's part of the contract?
Yep.
And then the renter is gonna most likely be there already, my cash flow's coming.
Right?
If the renter disappears in 3 months, where are you in the equation?
Well, you're re-renting.
We're gonna come in and lease the property back for you. Yeah, no questions about it. I mean, if we have a tenant that leaves in 3 months, it's gotta be something to do with some personal circumstance or whatever. It wouldn't be that they just didn't pay rent and they had to be evicted. But even in that case, let's say
3
that,
months, 6 months, a year?
yeah, let's say that, for whatever reason, they passed all of our screening, they passed all of the criminal background, the evictions and all the land, we called everybody, all the references, everything checks out. In 2 months, they just quit paying rent. Well, those people are gonna get evicted, okay? But we're gonna go back and release that property for you on our cost, okay? We're gonna go, we'll pay the leasing agent, we'll put it on our rent list as if it was our property, and we'll put all hands on deck to make that thing work for you. Because I've been in this business a long time, so has JT. The rubber meets the road when the tenant's money goes to the owner's pocket,
Right.
okay? That's truly where the rubber meets the road, and that's the most important thing for us in this business. So if we have tenants' money that's not making it to an owner for whatever reason, then we're gonna step in the middle of that and make sure that that's solved, that problem's solved.
Now, Memphis, if you have to evict the tenant, you've got to get an attorney and go through that whole process. How about Kansas City? Is it quicker, like Indiana? It's real quick and easy.
It takes,
6 months?
no, it takes probably about 60 days tops.
Yeah.
In,
You have to properly serve the tenant, which is the hardest part.
in Kansas City?
Kansas City.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you have a court date really pretty quick after they're served, and then you usually always win, or the tenant doesn't show up.
So you,
And then 10 days after that, a sheriff will actually show up if they're refusing to leave,
Right.
and then you can sell their stuff outside.
so you do see that as being easier than Memphis, Kansas City?
It's pretty quick. I own a bunch of properties. I've only had to evict one tenant the last 2 years.
Okay.
Texas?
Yeah.
Texas?
Texas, very similar, very similar. It's a very pro-landlord state, just like Missouri is.
Not like
as far as-
California.
Yeah, well, as far as tenant landlord rights and stuff, I mean, tenants have rights, landlord have rights, but in the eyes of Texas and in Missouri, I mean, the landlord pretty much has.
The attorney I use charges $320, I believe. I know it's low.
In Kansas City?
Kansas City.
So you do have to have an attorney?
You can do it yourself.
You can do it yourself,
Well,
but.
let me just give you an example. In Fort Wayne, Indiana, my property manager can go in there and go to court for you without getting an attorney, and they're out in a couple of weeks, and they show back up, they go to jail. So it's, different places are different.
We can do that in Missouri, but we don't recommend it. Why? Because we're not attorneys. So, I don't know, we can go do legal work,
Gotcha.
but that's not really our,
We really don't
what we
have
do.
time
Yeah,
to
if
hire
the
attorneys.
state kind of dictates that they want an attorney, it's better to get an attorney. Now, what if we have a locator that happens to find a property in your area, and we end up buying it but need to get a rehab? Is there any possibility of getting any help on the rehab side?
Yeah, absolutely. We do, we can do renovations for you. We can also do the whole soup to nuts turnkey process for you as well. So if you said, hey, Ben, I kind of like the idea, maybe I can save a little bit of money and instead of just going and do the renovations and all that stuff myself, let me just hire you and your team to go handle this for
And
me.
SBREIA would love to help you find a home.
Okay,
She's itching. She just got a real estate license a couple weeks
okay,
ago.
good.
The Missouri portion of the test is the hardest in the nation.
Really?
Yes.
What is the hardest?
The Missouri,
What is?
it's the hardest.
Oh,
The
the
test,
test.
it's the
The test.
test, Missouri, you took
Oh,
the
the
national,
real estate test.
and I have
Oh.
to take Kansas as well, but, the Missouri is one of the
But
hardest.
you can touch base a little bit. If we find a home, renovate a home, rent a home, you have a,
We have a fee structure in place for that. It's either 10% of the asset value of the home or with a $5,000 minimum. So let's say the total asset of the home is $40,000, then it would still be $5,000, it wouldn't be $4,000. If the total asset value of the home is $80,000, then our fee would be $8,000. And the way we structure that fee is, we make a third of it, and when we do the acquisition, so when the home is bought, we'll have a third of the fee then. When the renovation is done, we'll take a third of the fee then. And then when the tenant and the occupied, we get a lease signed and they move in, then we take the third of the fee then. That way, our goals are aligned with your goals, and we're only earning our fee when we reach our performance indicators, which is buy the home, fix the home, or rent the home.
Are you collecting those fees after somebody has gone on the deed and actually purchased it, or does that deed signing happen after all three?
No, the investor would be deeded the home as soon as they bought it.
Okay.
And like I said, as soon as they buy the home, we would ask for a portion of the fee then. And then we ask for a portion of the fee when the renovation's done, and then we ask for a portion of the fee once the occupancy and the full turnkey process is turned the corner.
That's a great way to do it.
Yeah.
And the good thing is, at least in Kansas City, I'm not sure about the other markets, but like I have a master electrician that's worked for me for 9 years. He's got 3 hourly employees under him. And then I have about 8 full-time crews, mostly Hispanic, legal Hispanics, at least one of them is, that I pay. And they're just so well trained on how we rehab. I don't want to say this, but I literally can find a house, walk them through it, show back up when it's done, and I have a punch list of like 5 items that still need to be done. And they've all been with me for minimum 5 years.
Good.
So if you find a house, it's not that hard for us to do it for you.
Okay.
It's just not, just because we have guys that are trained, experienced, been through it.
And that's all
you
they
might
do
gain a
there.
little equity though.
And they're on the move, Now, the one thing I'll say, listen, when it comes to buying the property already turnkey, already done, we've done the renovation on our own dime and everything, and we've got the tenant, and we sell it to you, we've taken away all of the unknowns at that point.
Right.
All of the risk is gone. You don't have a risk of a rehab cost going over because you don't have a rehab cost. You don't have a risk of not reaching the projected rent amount because you've got a hard number lease in place. That is the rent amount. So when you do buy the finished turnkey product, you're not buying on assumptions or pro formas. You're buying what it actually is. When you do the turnkey process with us using your own dime and you just pay us a fee to do the turnkey process, you're still opening yourself up to some unknowns.
We don't bid it, we do it at cost.
That's right.
Plus the fee.
Yeah,
So
so,
cost, you could have a broken sewer line.
There you go.
It's floor.
Don't know
Right.
until you start
Yeah.
running the water through.
right, so just like we go out to the marketplace and we're doing the turnkey process, we expose ourselves to all the different risks that's out there. You as the investor, if you hire us to do turnkey for you, you expose yourself to all the other risks that are out there as an investor. And so if it goes smooth and goes like a dream and no problems outside of what we thought already in the original scope, most likely you're going to save a few $1,000s and get some equity. But hey, like you said, if we have a main sewer line go out or some other unknowns or things that we just, the same risk that we take, you would take on that
I
process.
bought a house
So-
once where the water line wasn't even to the house, it was on the other side of the street, and the sewer line.
Yeah.
So I took a little loss on that.
Yeah.
If it's your first deal, you wouldn't want to be something like that.
We just had a sewer problem out in Pennsylvania, and the city said, "Oh, I'm sorry, it might be under our street, but it's your responsibility." And it was $7,000.
Yeah.
So we went, "Okay."
What's your current inventory and how often do you replenish?
I think we've got about 30 homes or so
This list
on the
that
books.
you
Yeah, that list right there. And then, as we move the home, we carry about 30 to 40 homes at any given time. And we try to buy them at about the same rate that we sell them. Obviously, that's not an exact science. Sometimes you have more buyers than you have homes, and sometimes you have more homes than you have buyers. And so sometimes it's sort of out of equilibrium. But, we try to keep about 30 to 40 homes or so.
I
on the
rehab
books.
about 200 a year in Kansas City.
And if I tell you I'm really interested in Kansas City, you're gonna make sure I know about every property the minute you make a purchase, right?
Absolutely.
If you want the house in rehab, I guess.
No, I mean,
yeah.
so that I'm in the loop.
Oh,
Absolutely.
So
So
it's like,
just-
hey, guess what, Suzanne, we have another property you might be,
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys,
Need help
in
with
all
I
of
gotta
your,
sell that inventory first.
Huh?
Get to that.
in all of our folders, you've got my business card in there. Please email me or go to our website, learn some more about us. You can learn a little bit more about our markets. You can see some of the different homes that you didn't see here today. Check us out.
Also, though, if anybody wants to put something on a contract with, contingencies upon inspections and more photos and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
We brought contracts.
Yeah.
So you can do it now.
Also in your folders,
Why not?
you've got a purchase contract right there in there. 2 reasons for that. 1, because I want you to see the purchase contract you're going to be dealing with us. And then 2, if you want to write it today on any of the properties you've seen or any of the properties on that list in your hand, write the contract today. All those properties are available for sale. So, well, except the ones that are marked pending. There was a few contracts that came in just in the last couple of days, and so I printed this list off this morning. I didn't want to remove them because I wanted to show some of those homes here, but the ones that are marked pending are reserved with other buyers. So,
And if anybody does today, what kind of time do you give them for due diligence on the contingencies?
we give them, the standard is a 10 business days, which is 2 weeks basically.
If it takes an inspector, I mean, the main thing is the home inspection.
Yeah.
There's not appraisals, I mean, the homes are rehabbed and in Kansas City anyways, most of them less than $40,000. You're not gonna get an appraisal, but you need to get an inspection, and that guy might be 5 days out, and then we get their report back, we'll fix all the repairs. So.
And then the other thing is like,
get title work and all that.
and then the other thing too is that, we have a contractually a 10-day inspection period, but listen, if we go to 11 days or 12 days or 15 days and we've got some legitimate reasons of why this process is dragging its feet, whether it's your reasons or my reasons or whatever it is, or a reason that none of us can control, well, we're gonna stay with you in that deal. We're not in the business of getting people to put contracts under and dragging things out and trying to take earnest money and all this kind of foolishness. I mean, we're in the business of creating happy, successful investors. And, and again, yeah, we've been here for a while, we continue to do this, this is what we do for a living. And, again, if we don't have happy clients, we're not gonna be in business very long.
And is
that's
there
just
any-
the bottom line.
Is there any way of getting back as a reference to some of the happy clients and saying, well, you've done business with them, how did it work for you? Do you have any?
Yeah, we've got some testimonials on our website. We've got, actually, one of our clients was good enough to record a testimony for us on a video. If you go onto our YouTube page, you can see that testimony. But, I'm not gonna just give you a bunch of investors' information to call, of course.
Right.
But if you do wanna have some references, if you do actually wanna speak to an investor, I can certainly reach out to our database. I'll ask a few of the investors if they're willing to have some conversations with you and all that. And the best I can say is that I will ask them. I can't promise that they would agree to do that.
Exactly.
But great question. Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Okay.
That's a great presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for having us out here, guys. If there's any other questions, we've got business cards and stuff. We're gonna be hanging out for a little while downstairs.
Well, thank you very much, Ben, and I guarantee you, we're not gonna find these kind of prices in California.
That's right. That's right.
It's like we
That's
have
not
the
gonna
floors.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much. Great job.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, and we are gonna head downstairs, if anybody wants to go downstairs, get something to eat or whatever. And then again, next month, I think it's on the 18th, is gonna be all about taxes, because we're getting to the end of the year, so we're gonna have our tax person come out here, and who knows, maybe Simon might wanna come back out and say the other side of, well, yeah, you can sure write off a lot of tax money, but you better think about that loan when you're doing it. So that's an opportunity. So thank you all very much for being here.